Okay, so a couple things that I wanted to point out is just how to use this. Super easy. You're just going to lift this up. That'll slide in. Definitely don't want to leave that out where you're driving down the road. Again, you just lift up, pull it out, and super easy to use. I'm going to go around and show you some of the things that this thing has. There's a little switch here. You want to make sure that whenever it's windy at all, that you pop this thing down inside there, because that will keep the door from, sliding around or slamming. A lot of the new campers have spring-loaded springs. That this one does not, so it'll move very easily in the wind. This is a water supply for fresh water, so if you are hooked up to city water, which I'll cover that in a minute, then you won't need this, but this is where you'll fill in the fresh water. And just so you know where that is just a little breather valve. And then if you ever are driving and you don't want all that fresh water in the tanks, you can drain your tanks, which is a really good thing to do. But if you see right here, this is the fresh water tank, and in the right here is the valve. So this is left open so it can drain properly. But this is I think a 30 gallon, 36 gallon, something like that. So if you're going to use fresh water, you just turn that off and it won't drain. But we keep this open so that you don't have any extra weight when you're driving down the road. So one of the things is, before you start cooking in the stove on the inside, you definitely want to make sure that you open up these little clips, because this is where the vent towards the stove comes out here. So if you turn on the vent, it's not doing anything if this thing is closed off. You also want to make sure that that is sealed up before you hit the road. Okay, I'm going to point out a couple other things. This is just the heater vent. The actual heater is on in the camper right now. This is a propane valve. It used to have a barbecue that goes right here that holds onto that. I doubt anybody's going to have something that can fit in that, but this is an extra propane tank or extra propane hookup if somebody wants to access that. When you shut these things, they have little snaps, so you can hear them snap, and you bring this thing down so dirt doesn't get in there. Just want to talk about the tires real quick. The tires are, I always check the to make sure they're inflated correctly. It says right here that if it goes below 32, these things will pop out. Right now you can see the green, and that red will pop out and cover up the green if it goes below. So anyway, you always want to check the poundage on this if you're on a long extended trip, because if it's not aired up, it will wear these tires out really fast. And these are brand new tires. We just got them on last year, so they're all looking good. These are wheel checks. Got 4 of those, so if you're on an incline, you definitely want to be able to use those. And 2 for each side. This is an access panel for the refrigerator. You will not need to ever use that, even if you're troubleshooting. It's just really for service, in case something happens. If you're plugged into 110, you have little plugs here, which are convenient to have access to. And if we come around back and show you a couple things that these things are notorious for getting dropped. And so one of the things you can do is we just put these little pins in here. So if you pull this out, see, we got the pin is like flared out. So once you squeeze it in there, it holds it in place really well. So you just put that in here. Yeah, these things literally, they'll pop out just driving down the road. You see them all over the place. This is where you're going to put the bars, right there on the back bumper, and then right here is where the other bar goes. You got a spare tire. Spare tire is brand new. It's never been used. And the back works just like the front when you're setting up the beds. So we've already covered that and how that works. It's very simple. So over here is where you've got the electric cord. So I've got this plugged into my house, so it's getting charged up. The battery is, so we have a nice full charge. But again, you want to make sure that if this is done, you don't want that waving in the wind. You want to clamp that down when you're on transport. It does have cable, and it's wired for cable television. Maybe I'll show you that when we go inside. I did put a quick connect on here. I'll show you the hose system, so you should never have to take this off, which makes it very convenient. there's a utility shower right here. And so if you look at in here, you can turn that on, and there's a little holder right here, so you can put that there if you want. Nobody ever uses this really. I mean, it's maybe for kids or dogs or something like that, but so that is nice to have. And talk about the septic system here in its own little video, just in case you have any questions about that. This is an access panel that shows you, this actually goes underneath the bench in the kitchen, in the kitchen table. So one thing about these keys, these locks are not very good. Sometimes you can put them in both ways. Well, some of the locks you can put them in both ways. This one's not worn out as bad as the fronts. But anyway, so just make sure that you have it right. If it's not turning, you probably have it inside the wrong way. So anyway, I'll just show you when you look inside here. We've got little clips that you can hold these open. We got some pots and pans in here is usually what we use that for. And then, but you can see the access panel from the kitchen area. And so that's what we use that storage bin for. There's another really big one here. This is where we put all the electrical, plumbing, hoses, all that goes here. So hold that up. Okay, so we have an expandable hose, which I usually keep inside this tote. Works really well. It fits in there just perfect. So you can see how tall this is. There's quite a bit of room inside here. This is where I keep all the plumbing or sewage stuff, and then this is an expandable hose, and you only want to use this for drinking water. Don't use this for anything other than that. This is a hose right here that's good for cleaning out your toilet. So it has a little nozzle right in here, and you can stick that down in there, and it'll spray high pressure spray and clean out the toilet when you're flushing it out. This is a toolkit, and you may never need this. I don't think anybody ever has, but this is a universal toolkit for lug nuts and a couple other bolts that are in there. These tools that, man, they're snapped in there really good. Hold on. Okay, these have sockets on both sides, so there's two of those, so a total of 4 different sizes. And there we go. And then there's your ratchets. So anyway, those are in case you ever have a flat tire. That's what that's for. All right, and then I'll show you what this is like where it all fits inside there. Okay, so here you can see the expandable hose fits in there just perfect. I'll just throw that in there. We'll go again over plumbing, all of the sewer stuff here in a little bit. And then got a little bag here. This is just an extra hose, and then we also have a water filter. We usually change this out once a year, and it has a quick connect, so this makes it very easy to put this on. Then you just squeeze on, put your hose in that way. So the quick connect, pull that in, and then it's just hanging down with a 90-degree elbow. Plug that in and go into your fresh water. I usually just store that right back there with this little hose. Sometimes that little hose is all you need, but if you need a 25-footer, you can use that expandable one. In here we have some extra plugs, different types of plugs. Different campgrounds sometimes will need it. You got a hatchet, a shovel. There's 2 different plugs in there. Shovel and I think a little hammer. You got some stakes in here if you want to stake up the awning. So that's what we keep all of that information and tools. And just put that right back up in there is where we usually store that. All right, and then we'll come back and show you how to use all the sewer stuff. Here's another access door to the pass-through. So this goes all the way to the front side. We do have little, I don't rely on these because they're not very good. That's why I always have the leveler in here. But there's the pass-through. There's some leveling blocks there if you need some extra blocks. Those are kind of helpful to have. There's also, if you see there's some tubes up there, you can put fishing line or fishing poles up there. Just get them up and out of the way so they don't get damaged. This lock is damaged. You can go in either this way with the teeth up, or you can go with the teeth down. You're not supposed to be able to do that, but if you keep turning it, see it turns this way just fine, and then you can pull it out. But if you go to put it in the upside down with the teeth up, it'll go in, but you won't be able to turn it. Don't force it because you'll break the key. So just make sure it's going in the correct way. It should be fairly easy to turn.